Okay, welcome to another special session on the Nerds Unite Network. This is Damien with Geek Together, and today I have a special guest, Johnny Dean from Ributt and Fleye. We're going to talk to him about his journey of creating a toy, resin right now, but looking into vinyls, working that path, and how he got there. Uh, so let's get right into it. People will be joining the other session from the Nerds Unite Network over on cosplay with the average nerds is ending here momentarily, so we'll have a lot of people flooding in. But why don't you let's just get right into it and get started with kind of your background in toy making and how you got here.
Well, I mean, like most of us, I definitely started, I feel like, as first a Funko collector, which got me heavily into collecting. I feel like I've kind of always been a collector at heart, but due to, budgetary constraints growing up, collecting wasn't always an option. And as I got older and collecting became more of a means for me and I was able to afford it, it became something I definitely fell back into hard when I stumbled upon Funko. And that was, into Funko, later into Tiny Ghost, and now finding all of these new designer toy artists. It just really drove this inspiration in me. About March of last year, I started re-enrolling to go back to school for
Oh,
art.
okay.
I'm actually in college right now to get my AFA. And one of the biggest motivators was wanting to get back in touch with kind of that artistic side I had as a kid. I loved drawing, loved painting, loved creating in general. But again, just due to adulting happening, I really fell away from being able to do that kind of stuff just because I had to focus more on work life and that kind of stuff, which ultimately led me into one retail management job after another. And finally, I was just like, I gotta say enough is enough, and I finally decided to go back to school for art, which then got me thinking about what I could do as far as my own stuff. I've always loved creating and drawing, like I've said, but that was really just the tip of the iceberg for me. As a collector, I've always loved the way the community can be brought together through these, I mean, plastic items, basically put. I know it's so much more than that, but I love that idea of community and the collectors being brought together over something small and means but big an idea, and I wanted to establish something similar.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then, so what was your first character or toy line you created? What was the first one of the things that you have out there?
The first thing that I did was Ributt, which we're named after Ributt and Fleye, and that for me was uh, it kind of goes back to when I was younger. The character and the idea of the frog was more or less because I grew up living with my aunt, and my cousin and we had sort of like a sibling rivalry, so to speak. But he constantly let me know how much I looked like a frog. Yeah, so I kind of owned that after a while, and when it came time to starting to draw, I couldn't get past this idea of creating a frog character, something that embodied, the quirks and physical characteristics that you see in like a Pac-Man frog. Just kind of they don't look so much angry, but they look concerned, confused, maybe like you just woke them up from a bad nap. They're definitely different than what everybody imagines like slender, skinnier frogs to be. And in that way, it was kind of an idea of representation for me, doing something that didn't look like your traditional figure or your traditional type of cue. I kind of wanted to cross those lines.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And then I think that worked out pretty well for you. I was going to show pictures of it, but you're working on your website, which we'll talk about a little bit in a minute. Do you have anything you could show here so we can so people here can see the
Yeah, definitely. So actually, what I have right here first is this is one of the earliest sketches I did of Ributt. This was back in March of last year, and this was really just rough conceptualization, trying to get out, the basic form of the figure, what it was going to look like. Was he going to be standing, sitting? How I was going to go about all of that. Let me see if I can get this to focus in a little bit better. And like I
here. I'm
said, he's
gonna let me
really,
zoom this up here so people can see it better. Okay, so those are your first
really
conceptual
rough.
drawings of Ribbit.
Yeah,
Ribbut.
really rough. Like I said, at this point, I was just getting back into school. and my forms and dimensions are all off. But I feel like I got the general idea down on that. But within a few months, that kind of evolved a little bit further, into basically the first prototype drawing of what we have now, which is more of that like sitting,
Yep.
uh, tongue out, basically a dog pose, as I've referred to it so many times. That's the thing that I wanted to, kind of instill with Ributt, was this like sense of loyalty. Everybody loves it when the dog comes running up, sits down on the ground panting, dogs out or paws out in the back, and then
Right.
paws out in the front. And I feel like there's kind of this cute quality to Ributt that you wouldn't see in a frog in real life, which kind of adds to that stylization, that you'd want to see in most, resin toys or vinyl figures.
No, I think it's cool, and the finished product, the ones that you guys have been selling
Mhm.
as resin so far, I like the cutesy, the format. It kind of has that. It's just a simple look and feel, a good canvas, right? And even with the tongue out and kind of the parts there, I think it works really well. It looks really nice. So you did a great job on that from concept to there. I actually think that your progression to the tongue out simple was a good progression.
Thank
Nothing
you.
wrong with your original sketches, but that's the way it works, right? That's why you
Yeah,
do it, right?
definitely. That's what the rough drawings are for. They help guide you kind of like what you want rather than what you don't want. This was actually my first 3D print that, I did about, I want to say, June of last year, and just kind of really awkward forms, really
Mm-hmm.
rough shape. This was actually built on 3D Windows 3D Builder, so the most primitive of 3D softwares, and I really was just trying to figure out like what I wanted this form
Mm-hmm.
to look like. This figure actually never made it to being resin cast and sold. I think I gave one away for a contest, and
Okay.
that's safe in a home now. But when I did that, I just realized that there was so much more to resin casting, molding, and that I'd need to put a little bit more work until my figures were ready. That was actually when I switched to what I'd call the version 2 Ributt, which I actually am going to go grab one of those real quick. Give me 2 seconds.
All right. Yeah, that'd be awesome. And for those that are joining us coming in here while he's grabbing that, we are going to be having a giveaway here. I'll let him talk about that in the future, but we'll kick that off a little bit later.
All right.
All right.
And then the version 2, as you'll see, is much more refined, a lot more. I mean, the tongue has shape to it. There's a lot more
Oh
in
yeah. Wow.
the physical features and just the glossiness that came along from it. I was really really proud of that. I got a lot of compliments on the really nice finish compared to what the initial product was. And then after that, I felt like I was off and running. I did fairly small run sizes,
Mm-hmm.
about 3 to 5 pieces, for a couple of months, and that was a lot of fun. But then I kept playing, and I got the idea of a few more characters in mind, and that came about in my characters Clove and Worm. Clove is more of an anthropomorphic caterpillar, whereas, Worm is the anthropomorphic caterpillar. Clove is an anthropomorphic bull, and they were again just kind of rough, blocked out characters, that, I was really just messing with form and the idea of character creation more than anything. And I never expected them to take off with the people who had, collected Ributt before, but there was a lot of love for these characters. In some ways, even more so than the initial reception to Ributt. And I guess that comes with the territory of kind of being an unknown name before I had started, and Ributt was something new. There's that kind of leeriness with collectors, like, do I want to pick this up? Who is this
Mm-hmm.
guy? I've never heard of him before. What's going on? And I definitely feel like once I broke past that point, people were much more, warmed up to the figures, which was really good.
Good.
Made me a lot more confident in starting to build toward things like Waffle and eventually the vinyl figure.
And we have a comment in here from Brass Octopus. Sad for no more fly.
R.I.P. Fly. Yeah, as a lot of the collectors know, I did retire Fly when I decided to move over from the resin platform to the vinyl platform.
Mm-hmm.
There was a few things that went into that decision. One of the biggest thing was, safety. I wanted to make sure that as a vinyl toy made it into more households, that this small piece in a bigger vinyl figure wasn't overlooked and didn't end up being a choking hazard
Mm.
potentially for pets, small children.
Okay.
I think one of the coolest things is how diverse the fan base is for Chomp, Vanzer Toys, Tiny Ghost. You know, you see him in all sorts of little kids' hands,
Yeah.
and you want to make sure that that's always going to be safe for them. And with Ributt, I had an art show that I was a part of a year ago at my college, and a lot of people came up and they're like, "Is this going to be safe for my kid to have?" And I had to dismiss that idea really quick. Like, unfortunately, no, I don't.
Mm.
I don't feel like something this small would be a safe idea just because you don't know where it's going to end up. I know when I was a kid, I was trying to eat Lego heads all the time, so who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was really one of the biggest reasons. It also would have been an increased cost per piece on the vinyl figure,
That's
which
true too.
I felt would have been a little unnecessary for what it would have been for how small you would have been getting in addition. And you can only do so many variations with a small character like
Right.
Fly. The colorways would have been pretty basic, and other than small markings and indications like that, I would have ran out of ideas probably after my first 12, 13 flies. Whereas
Right.
Ribbut, he works as a
And
great
and
canvas.
it is. I mean, you're not wrong about the cost when you're going to vinyl. I
Mhm.
mean, resin's one thing. You know, it's just an easy thing for you to cast and go out with it, match the color palette of what you're doing,
Mhm.
or complementary. I think you're right on the how you know, displaying ability plus, like you said, the runway. But the mold's the mold. It's going to
Yeah.
cost. It's another mold.
Yeah, it
Maybe
would
a
have been
little
the
less.
same price
Yeah.
as Ribbut, another
Yeah.
$900.
Exactly. It adds up.
And that really adds into the cost, and then you got to pay for the price per piece, which would have been another $9 per fly, and it just started to get up there where I'm like, I'm taking a leap with this final figure. I think that collectors enjoy Ribbut enough. I've actually released a lot of variants of Ribbut without Fly prior
Hmm.
to this, just to see what the reception would be,
Right.
to test those waters before, and there wasn't really any bad feedback ever. There was always the enjoyment when Fly was added, like this is a bonus, this is extra, this is awesome, and I'll always enjoy that. I'll always be keeping that in the back of my mind, like what can I be cooking up next?
Hmm.
I've already tossed around the idea of like blind bag bugs that are more stylized creatures, that could be more companion pieces. Obviously with that kind of stuff, you kind of know that they're smaller right off the bat,
Right.
so the choking hazard would be apparent and marked clearly on the packaging.
Right. 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 So Christina, she's always got great insights.
Mhm.
She says, totally makes sense. Maybe an invisible version one day with a fly in the belly.
Yeah, I would love that. Maybe similar to what Chomp has done with their Amber figure,
Hmm.
where they just had the little mosquito in
But
the
actually,
belly
in
of
it,
it.
like suspended, would have been, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, that would be brilliant. I would love. That's a great idea, Christina. I absolutely love that
It could be part of the vinyl, like a clear see through. Like, this is what happens, evolution, or
idea.
you know.
I've released a couple of resins like that, and the collectors really enjoyed
Hmm.
that. I did one a few months ago that was just stuffed full of glow in the dark flies, and that's
Oh,
probably
that's
been one of
cool.
my
Yeah.
most popular pieces.
Well, everybody loves. You put glow in the dark on something that goes 20 times
Yeah,
faster. Let's be honest, right?
absolutely.
So, but are you going to still do resin pieces? Or are you just going vinyl and going to focus on that? Or are you going to continue to do the resin
No, I'm
stuff?
gonna do both.
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say, yeah, don't
absolutely
do it. Don't stop.
love doing resin. And with Waffle, I think Waffle is a great resin figure. He's great to
Yeah.
keep doing with resin, just because of the
Okay, so
size.
Ribbit's going vinyl, but Waffle's going to stay resin. You're not going
Yeah,
to do vinyl
everything else
Waffle.
is gonna
Okay,
stay
okay,
resin.
that makes sense.
Um, and
Gotcha.
I've got some stuff I'm working on for my other pre-established characters that'll be coming in the next few months. A little kind of a re-rollout that'll kind of go with the kind of rebrand. Kind of just an overall refresh is what I'm hoping to do with that. And it'll be nice for people that are just coming on and people that are finding us for the first time. And also for those who have kind of been there since the beginning and they've got to see this slow crawl evolution, and the ways that Ributt's changed, the way that my art style has changed, and I'm really proud of that, and I hope that it continues at the pace that it's been.
Fantastic. No, I think that's a good medium. Christina, when she's working on stuff, same thing. She doesn't want to lose touch of the doing stuff. I mean,
Mhm.
because once you go vinyl with ribbon, it's like the colors. I mean, yeah, you're gonna pick out colorways, you're gonna pick out variations, but then it's like
Mhm.
kind of it's at the factory. They're painting all your stuff now. You're gonna get back
Yeah.
final production pieces, and you're
Mhm.
gonna sell it. You're not. I mean, you know, I'm sure you'll do blanks and stuff like that for
Mhm.
customs and arts and collaborations, but you don't want to lose being able to work on it and create new things and smaller runs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I do think the waffle platform is really cool
Mhm.
for that, and that's the one I was really drawn to of your work
Mhm.
when I first started just kind of discovering the stuff that you're doing. That's the one that I was gravitated towards.
It's brought a lot of new people in, and I really really am excited about that. When I sculpted this last December, this is one of the original clay prototypes that I made. I had no idea that it would take off the way that it had. And I'm really, really thankful that collectors really received not only the figure but the individual personalities and this idea behind the character, and that was really cool. Even being able to collaborate with like Eric Kale Schlo, that was a great time.
Yeah, so
Oh, they
I'm
brought
pulling
up the
up I'm
goods.
pulling up your Instagram here, so we can kind of show people what we're talking about on these things, right? Besides your prototype you showed there, but
Hmm.
this is your glow in the dark, uh, with everything inside it glow in the dark, right? The clear one with the glow in the dark flies.
Yeah, those actually, that's something I did recent.
Yep.
That's Ributt cubed.
Oh, cube.
I
Sorry.
I
Yes. Oh, yeah.
cast
I
a
see it now.
bunch
Yeah, yeah.
of glow in the dark cubes in there,
That's cool.
three different neon colors, and I mixed them up throughout the different bodies and kind of just did a clear cast over that. And they turned out with this really cool layered neon effect, as you see there.
Yeah, I gotta get less busy so I can follow all of your guys' Instagrams more and stuff, so I can buy things. Seriously. And
No,
then you
I
got
feel like that's the hardest thing
it's
is the
so
more
hard.
involved you
It's
get,
not
the more
fair.
you miss out on stuff.
You do. It's like there's so many cool little things, and you're doing small runs. Like that's amazing. Like I would have been all over that. Although, what was the LE on that one? You made three.
Just three pieces. It was just a surprise drop. I made that about a month ago, and I kind of forgot about it with all of the hustle and bustle of getting new resin figures ready for Waffle, the transitioning to the vinyl figure, and I had forgot about them. Found them on my shelf when I was getting things more organized last week. Finished them up, and then I was like, there's only three here. That would have worked a month and a half ago to do like a standardized
Right.
release. I don't know if it's going to work to do this, so I just did a surprise drop, posted them up, and I said, first come, first serve. We're so close to the website being shut down that I don't want to put them up there.
Uh,
And they were gone. I just instantly started getting comments, and that
just
was a
gone.
great,
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it's not.
satisfying
Yeah.
feeling.
And here you get a better look at Ribbit, like a couple different color variations there,
Hmm.
and the waffle, which is I mean, I just I don't know what it is. I love the well done food into toys. I like that combination. It's like food as a
Weakness for
character.
me.
Yeah, it really is for me too. Like I walk around and I see so many versions of that at places like Designer Con and stuff, and I'm a sucker for it. I don't know why, but it's just I think it's maybe it's just because it's out there, and if it's well done, it's really cool. So,
Right, it appeals to my two senses. I'm like, this looks good. I could collect it, but
yep.
also it's gonna make me hungry, and that's not a problem.
Yeah, I just want to kind of show a little bit there, and obviously go check him out on Instagram. Those that aren't familiar with his work at Ributt and Fleye on Instagram. That's where you could if you pay better attention, you can get cool drops like the cube there, the glow in the dark cube if you're really fast. I am not such. I was not monitoring. So, very cool. That's amazing. And then what were those gold waffles?
Oh, so that's actually something that I'll have coming up after kind of the transition to the new brand. It'll be my first little waffle bundle. I've got a limited edition pin that those will be bundling with. This is the first time that I've even spoken about that. But I have some new waffle pins that'll be coming over the next couple months. Same style as before, just different colorways, different
Yeah,
variations.
makes sense.
So it'll be expanding that line out a little bit. I think I've actually got one of those right here. This is one that'll be coming. It's just kind of a glow in the dark green.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Can't show off the back because I don't want to give away too much yet.
Yeah, see, there you go. You add to the club of people that can't tell me something.
Well, fortunately, I've been planning this for a while, so all of my vinyls, everything acknowledges the new branding. A few people have asked me, like, is this a last minute thing? What's that going to mean for your vinyl? Does your vinyl still say Ributt and Fleye? I've been planning this since about March, and I've put a lot of thought and a lot of effort into it. So I'm really, really hoping the best comes from it. but also if there's a little bit of hesitation, I'm also prepared for that too. Just because people might wonder why the sudden change, and I really think Ributt and Fleye as a name was great, but I don't think it fully encompasses everything that I want to offer, and it doesn't give me as much room to grow as I would
Mm.
like, and I feel like it feels limiting.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That's fair. And at the end of the day, you're doing this for your creativity and
Mhm.
your expression of what you want to do, and so you got to go with what feels right. And a lot of it
Yeah,
is gut, right? And a lot of it is what do you want to work on, and where do you want to challenge yourself and create. And so I don't think there's any wrong answer there. I mean, as long as
yeah,
you're happy doing it, I mean,
I never expected it to go past the first resin figure run. So I'm grateful that I am where I am. I'm grateful that it's been so well received. The designer toy community is just incredible and so supportive. There's always room for more people, and that's what I love about it. Is I felt so at first like, am I going to be taking up more space? Am I qualified enough? Am I artistically inclined enough? And those were thoughts that I quickly just had to work past, because the only thing that separates you from being a good artist is work and time. And as long as you start the work and you're willing to put in the time, that's all it is.
yeah, and I think that's normal. I think you're thinking like every other artist I've talked to since I started this podcast, right? Is that they all have the same worries, the same fears of going out there and
Mm,
putting stuff out there and making those types of decisions. Like, is it going to hurt? Is it not? And I think the same advice always couples with that, which is be you, keep doing what you're doing, keep doing what you enjoy, keep doing what you love. And if part of that's the rebrand and what you're going to be putting up there, then that's what you do.
mm,
And it works. You know, Chris Uminga the other day on that session, that was one of the things that kind of stuck with me was it's like you see too many people trying to get into comics or anything else, and they're trying to mimic somebody else's style instead of creating their own. And that's fine when you're learning, because I think everybody learns doing that
mm, mm.
because you're a fan of something, so you mimic something or you're inspired. Inspired is different than copying or mimicking, right? And then you kind of find your own stuff, but you got to find you,
Oh yeah, definitely.
you know?
I think the way that I really found my own art style again was drawing Funko characters and doing like Funko fan art, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really that kind of stuff that really emulating something else to find your own. I feel like that's a common place for a lot of people when they get back into art. Something inspires them, initially gets them going, and before they know it, they're doing it their own way in their own style. And that journey, that's part of the one of the best parts of it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And so the rebranding, I think the focus and the reason you gave is pretty solid. I think I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to the vinyl. Now, what size runs are the vinyl? I mean, I don't know how early you are in the process of the vinyl, but what's the timeline we're looking at?
I kind of surprised people with the vinyl because I already have
You
it.
already have
It's
it.
it's ready. I've been working on these for since April, but the run sizes are relatively small because again I started planning it out. I mean I think that the run sizes are still going to be good for what I'm dealing with now, but they're a lot smaller than some of the other designer vinyls out there. Starting with 50-piece limited runs, so
Okay.
similar to what Berserker Black Market
Mm-hmm.
and Barely were doing when they first started with their vinyls, which I think is great. It's a great way to start. Um, Not that it would be terrible to have a couple hundred,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm just not that confident. I don't think that I would be able to move that many of anything. I guess that's kind of the surprise with so many of these artists is when that turning point finally happens.
Well, the Geek Together bump's good for at least five sold, I think. At least. Mostly us in the
Hey, I'll
group.
take it. That's 10% at 50 pieces. That's 10%
Get the
sold
Geek
right
Together
there.
bump, it's a requirement. You get that bump and you're off, and you're going to be selling out in like seconds and at least five.
Yeah, that'll be great, and I'm really excited to launch them, regardless of whether I've got 5 sold or 50
Sure,
sold.
sure, yeah.
It's just for me, it's a major step. For me, it's a huge thing to be able to hold this in my hand and be like, "Wow, I did this. I made this." Um,
I mean, the good thing
it's
about
really,
50,
uh huh,
LE50, it puts you in a couple markets, right? I think you're going to have the people that have already been following you and fans with you and are trying to get the pieces you're doing already. So you're going to have that locked in, right? Because they love your product and you've already built a following. Then you're going to get you got the people like me who just found your work and, learning about you and learning your story. And so I'll be interested. Then you're going to have people that just like to collect 50 things, things that are
Yeah.
numbered 50, or less, right? Like
Those low number collectors. I
low number
definitely.
collectors. Yeah, you're going to
I
get,
mean, I can't say that I haven't seen stuff where I'm like, ooh, see that Ellie, and then I'm like, ooh, and it doesn't happen that often, but there is more of a you got to go for it then and there, or else you're gonna miss out on it, and it's gonna be an eBay exclusive.
yeah, you got to watch that finally. Like you're going to know when it's getting to that point, right? And then you're going to know, like, that explosion can happen pretty quickly, right? But I think you have a couple things going. One, I think your product is kind of the cutesy, the size, and the product and the packaging I've seen on your website, on your Instagram there. I think it's going to fit in right with the kind of sweet spot that other things people are collecting, right? And secondly, the low number is going to attract big time, and you have a lot of variants there. And then Jason Rose actually in the chat, kind of chiming along here that he feels like you're doing it perfect and it's a great job to do it that way. What is he say? You're doing it a great way. Super happy for you.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah. So I mean, and it's a close knit community, right? So you're gonna. I have no doubt. I'll bet on it. I'll bet something that I'll bet a Doctor Who proto from my wife that you will sell out pretty fast.
No,
There you
I really appreciate that. And with Jason's stuff, he's a perfect example. I jumped on those vinyls as soon as I could when the decon stuff went on the website.
go. Yep.
And so I didn't really know that they didn't sell out right away. It was kind of my assumption. So when I heard people talking about how they didn't jump on it or missed out on it, and then later finding out that they were there for a couple days, they would have had every opportunity. I'm so grateful that when they finally did, that I had gotten them because that turn was so quick. And I've tried looking for the two that I'm missing on eBay,
They're not there.
and what they aren't there, they are definitely not there. And it's a great thing because hopefully everybody who's wanting them is getting them. They're all going to good homes. You see them posted in like the Vim Toy group, and that's
Mm-hmm.
so awesome.
Yeah, I'm fortunate too. I mean, I always like the barely character, but this will kind of be a theme to me. But Jason was always such a great guy and very helpful, and the conversations that I bought barely first because I like Jason. I think he's a great guy. They're awesome figure. You know what I mean. He's doing vinyls. Like, oh, I'm gonna support a
Yeah.
friend, but I love the work too. And the only reason why I don't buy everything that I see out there is because my house is kind of full of toys. Like it's kind of.
Same.
I just moved one location from Salt Lake to the next, and I gotta tell you, I don't want to tell people how many collectibles I had to move and pack up. It was like a significant amount of work. Most of my packing was that. Everything else is
I
easy.
dread moving for that point. Anytime I've had to move, I'm like, all right, how many boxes for collectibles?
Oh,
It's only like 7 or 8 for everything else, but how many for collectibles? That's the important thing.
it's most of it, and you really care about them a lot more. Like I don't care if my dishes get smashed. I'll go buy new ones. I don't care. Smash them. Throw them in a box. I don't give a shit. You better not
Friends
mess
are
up
like,
that
do you need
Batman.
help moving? I'm like, no, you can stay at home. I mean, if I need help moving blankets, anything, you're good, but not the collectibles. I got this.
Yeah, we drove down, and I remember we packed up our vehicles with as many of the high end collectibles. Or because I was like, look, if they're gonna get damaged, it better be damaged by me. Nobody else is hurting these things.
Yeah. Personal liability if it happens.
Yep. Oh, anyway, so we're getting into this. We're getting toward the. I want to make sure we get this giveaway going. So, what is it you have for the
Oh,
everybody's
sweet.
watching?
So I actually have my yet to be. I've kind of teased it a little bit, but this is Summer Splash Waffle.
Oh, that's cool.
Semi-translucent blue. Once it releases, there's going to be a 1 in 4 chance for a blue glow-in-the-dark variant. However, this one is just the basic variant. That one should be releasing, if everything goes well, end of August.
Okay, end of August, you said.
Yeah, and it's LE20.
LE20. All right. I'm sorry. I'm setting up this giveaway here because I gotta get it going here. In the meantime, so LE20, end of August. I just gotta keep. I gotta take notes too, so I could be ready this time. It'll be my fault that I
Hey,
missed.
no worries. I'll make sure that I'm like posting plenty because this won't be a surprise. I want everybody.
I'm
to
just
be
saying in your
well-armed
hashtags,
and
if you could
prepared.
add Geek Together to them, I'll see it faster.
There you go.
Just
Instantaneous update.
as seen on Geek Together, that works, right? I mean,
I love that. Oh, that's great.
anything that helps me. All right, here we go. I'm gonna kick this off. I'm gonna have it give everybody 15 minutes to enter and to, and the key word, well, you'll see it in remembrance, will be fly.
R.I.P. little buddy.
Fleye. There we go. Let me start the giveaway here. I sure wish I could win that. There we go. This should work. All right, countdown's going. Once you see it in the chat, go ahead and enter !fly and get your entry in. That's a beautiful piece. That's pretty cool. I like, again, I'm a sucker for the food pieces, but I'm also a sucker for the clear resins, the translucents. Those are among like my favorite tiny ghosts, like the gumball variants and stuff, or the,
yeah,
you know what I mean, the clear, the glittery, clear blue and stuff like that.
I'm
That's pretty cool.
hoping that early next year I should have something like that available. I've wanted to do something like that for a long time. As soon as I started thinking about vinyls, I'm like, how do I do a translucent vinyl?
Oh
So
yeah,
I hope that I can get something like that done.
yeah. Those are, that'll be cool. And then yeah, I think you have a good platform there. And I actually, you know, the more I keep looking at Ributt, I'm like, oh, that's pretty. That you've done well on that sculpt, really. And I'm not just saying that.
It grows. I definitely I went through a little back and forth with the factory because this definitely changed. The vinyl changed a lot about the original design of the frog, and I drew up new concept drawings and everything. And so we went back and forth, I think 4 times, getting this design just right
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted all of the original features that I enjoyed to be kind of represented there, but I also wanted the frog to feel more naturalized, more stylized, and like it could actually spring to life or be something that is more friendly. I feel like there was kind of just a statue like feature to the resin figure where while it was good, there wasn't enough personality there for me.
Mm,
And I feel like the vinyl definitely snaps that to life.
okay. You had the vinyl in hand, and you know, I'm terrible with memory. But when can we expect that?
August 8th.
August 8th.
Yeah, so it'll actually be
That's right.
dropping the week after the website reopens. Website reopens August 1st, 9 a.m. Pacific
Okay.
time, and then the vinyl figure will be dropping a week later, Saturday, August 8th, 9 a.m. Pacific time as well.
And there's 50.
Yeah, there's going to be 50 of the Swamp Water limited
Mm-hmm.
edition. And then the other edition that's with it, the original, that one's going to be my only open edition figure.
Okay. Well, I think it's
Restock
important.
won't happen on that until probably early next year, mid next year at the earliest.
Mm-hmm.
but it will be an open edition.
So
So
it'll be an evergreen product. So even
yeah,
if you
yeah,
sell,
yeah.
so when you sell through it this time, don't worry, that's going to be the base Ributt you can always get eventually.
Absolutely.
The only thing, okay.
The Swamp Water is going to be the limited edition one.
That makes sense.
Here.
Okay.
Uh,
But how limited is the open edition going to be this first round though? Because it's obviously
We've got 50 of both of them.
okay. So it is going to
So
be for about a year an LE50 as well. So it's going to be tough to get even though it's open. But if you miss out on that, you will have another chance because you'll continue to make runs of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And that will be available in 2 options. I'll have a bundled option. That bundled option will come with a couple of extra freebies, including our new enamel pin. This is an update over the old enamel pin. Same design, larger size, new pin manufacturer that we went with. Aside from that, I've also got a little art print that'll be thrown in on there.
Oh, that's cute. Nice.
That's limited to 25 bundles, and that'll include all 4 of the items: the 2 vinyls, the pin, and the art print.
So that like brings like as a shopper, and I'm sure you can understand this as a collector too. And I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong, chat. But then you got a dilemma. It's like, do you go for the bundle, but there's only 25, and if I miss that, by the time I go to the individuals, are they gone while I'm messing around trying to get a bundle? That's gonna be fun. Okay.
It's always a catch. I feel like I've always, when I don't do the bundles, I always get the request, where are the bundles? Where are the bundles?
No, I understand. No, everybody wants a bundle because then it's like I don't have to add to cart 4 times or 2 times.
Done,
yeah, one and done. But everybody goes for the bundle. Sometimes the strategy is go for the singles where everybody's distracted with the bundles. You know, it's like man. All right, that's cool though.
I won't keep you in checkout for 45 minutes. I promise.
That's all I ask, actually, to be honest with you. If I'm going to lose, please let me lose right away.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to know now.
Yeah, that's
Sold
funny.
out red bar, please.
No, I agree with you, Frito. The bundle is easier. I think you understand what I'm saying though. When it's 25 on the bundle, everybody wants the bundle. Like
Mhm.
everybody that I know is a collector, if they're going for One Piece, they're gonna go for the bundle. Uh, and so that's where I'm coming from there. Not a bad thing. I'm not complaining either way. I think it is good to have the bundle. I think you're absolutely right. I think it's
Definitely.
better for you too, and gets more products shipped. Right? People go for it. I mean, look. At the end of the day, I know you're doing this for the art and you love it. And I said this probably 10 times in the Vancer group. You got to make money to make more. You know what I mean? So you got to push through. I don't think you'll have a problem with selling that release though at all. I think it'll be gone, and then everybody will be waiting for the next one.
I'm
So
actually excited for what I have planned for the next few after this. Hopefully, I can get something in hand before Halloween. Um, I've got a couple of things that I've been working on concepts for, but nothing that I've actually sent to the factory yet to get quoted.
okay, that was gonna be my next question. Like, all right, so August 8th, we all get a taste of the vinyl ribbit. We bought it, we got it, or we didn't. When's the next one?
The next one, if it doesn't end up happening before the end of October, I've got something that I hope to be ready before the holidays, which would be really nice. But if I do get it ready, this is what I've got coming for Halloween.
Oh, that's cool.
I definitely had this more inspired by like the poison dart
Hold on, show that
frog.
again. Let me get the screen. Let me
Yeah,
so everybody can
definitely.
see this better. I like the skull and crossbones. I like the red and black. Yeah, there's nothing wrong on that one. That's cool.
But that was one of the things. If it works out, that'll be what I have ready before Halloween. But at this point, that's kind of a stretch just because we're almost to August.
Yeah.
And while the turnaround time on these first vinyls were great, I don't see the turnaround time for this new design being under 2 months, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully before December, I'll have something new out there for everybody.
Well, I think that's fair. I think it's a good timeline. I love that colorway. Everybody in the chat saying the same thing. I see a lot of fires. I see a lot of
That's
nices. That's
awesome.
awesome. Skull is on point. Oh, that's a good question, Eric. So, or Schlo, when are we getting blanks?
That's a great question.
That's a
I'm
really
I'm
good one.
hoping early next year. That should be something once things pick up a little bit. If they pick up, even if they don't pick up, I still want to expand the vinyl figure just for my personal interest
Mm-hmm.
in vinyl. Keep them with the low limited editions. I kind of look at the vinyl as like a passion project more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I'm not looking to make a bunch of money off of it, I'm just looking to be able to make more toys off of it. That's my big
That's
goal here.
fair. That's
I'm a
that's.
college student and I got to pay my bills, but at the end of the day, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just looking to, put my spin on designer toys out there and just to be able to be given that opportunity to be put on people's shelf. That's flattering enough as it is. And to think that people, want those blank vinyls to put their own spin on
Mm-hmm.
Ributt, I really, really want that to happen. I think that I could see some cool stuff happening with that. So hopefully early next year.
Eric, you can just order the evergreen version, and do your thing, because there'll be more next year.
I'm hoping it happens. I would love to see what Schlo does with the Ributt.
Yeah, he did a great. Well, honestly, the when he was posting out the waffles he was doing that he did with you, the limited run waffles, the tequila sunrise version, which he does such a great job with that colorway.
Oh, definitely.
And the colors pop on everything. So that one I wanted, but that was my fault again. I was just a bad collector. I knew it was going live. I don't know. I got the times mixed up, and so I just straight up missed it. Oh well, it was a good piece though. So congrats to those that got one.
Yeah,
And then
Eric
what?
put so much into that. I absolutely did. I was so happy to have gone to him about that collaboration because he's the first person I've collaborated with on anything like this. And
Yeah.
I've admired his work for quite a while back in, when I was still just a Funko collector. So it was awesome to be able to come to him with this platform and be like, hey, do you want to put your spin on this? And his excitement level, because he'd asked me previously about blanks of waffle.
I'll bet.
It
Yeah.
was just awesome to be able to come together and make this beautiful piece that collectors was so well received by collectors.
Fancer Toys. Eric said he got that out, so he went for it too. So he got a lot of support. So maybe the Geek Together bump might be better than I thought. Because right now I'm just building up a bunch of competition for myself. This is not working out well for me. Uh, Although what I'd like you to do is keep doing the LE50s, and then anybody who buys one, try to find somebody that when they can't get them anymore because it's too hard to get, they quit and they want to sell their whole collection. Maybe I can get one of those sunrises somewhere. I know. I'm hoping. You know.
I really like. I'm really glad that I have an artist proof held on to just so I can show it off at events and be like, look at the various platform or the various things you can do with this platform. And showing off Eric's work is a necessary. I feel like anywhere you can show it off, you should show it off. And I'm very, very honored to have that on my platform and be able to show that at events and stuff in
I
the
think the
future.
joke. I think I got
Fingers
this.
crossed that things go back to normal.
I actually think I got this joke by listening to. Yeah, exactly. How do we get an AP? Why don't you make like a run of 10, but then make like 15 APs? Isn't that the trick? Like that we all you can keep making APs for us.
I've never understood. See, I do see that happen sometimes where an artist is like, I've got 200, but I've also got like 45 APs.
Yeah, because I
But
was really checking them out.
one
You know,
AP, I feel like
artist
that's
profit.
overkill. Oh my god, yeah, that's a good way to put that.
That's
I've got
fantastic.
these 45 APs in my closet. Y'all need to buy them for double the price.
Yeah, the APs. I was
Whew.
making sure. I was really making sure they were right. So I needed to make sure I got like a 20% sampling of my whole run as an AP, and I'll
They
sign
gotta
it.
prove themselves.
Yeah, they gotta prove themselves. Or then you can just keep making them like, oh, this is an LE25. You get enough. You get enough people asking for it. Like, oh, I got an AP. I always have an AP in stock. You have like that. What we need to do is have that one
I set up
listing.
my business plan too soon. Clearly, you're giving me all the right
You
ideas.
gotta get that one listing eBay that just always seems to be one waffle AP up all the time.
Tracks it back to
So
Seattle.
weird. So weird. Anyway, fun.
Oh,
Actually, I think I heard that joke on Schlow's podcast, The Hot Drop, I believe. Yeah, the Toy Tokyo Vegeta approach. There's always one for sale
like
somehow.
amazing.
So, hold on. So, all right. What other? I mean, I know you got a lot of stuff in your mind. Is there any other characters you're thinking about doing? So you got Waffle, you got Ribbit, you retired Fly.
So I'm working on something with Clove right now. Clove, for collectors that aren't familiar, he's more of an anthropomorphic bull. I talked about him earlier in the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But he is a character that collectors really seemed to like when I first introduced him. But there were some issues with fragility. With
Mm.
he had these horns, and these horns had kind of um, a tendency to break off in shipping. And I had originally designed the figure to be a two piece, to where I had the horns cast separate from the figure itself. And I kind of took him out of production after three different incidents where he had horns breaking. And I felt terrible for collectors every time this happened. As an artist, the last thing you want is to send something off and to have it be received in more pieces than you sent it in. That is the worst thing. I think the only person that feels worse is the person buying the piece. So for me, I just wanted to take that and refine it, do what I did originally with Ributt, take the original figure, improve it, and bring it up to the level of skill that I have now. I'm working with a 3D sculptor who's taking my concept drawings and turning it into a new 3D figure for Clove.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully, that should be. I should have some teases coming in the next couple of months on that. But that's one of my big reasons that I wanted to kind of transition Ributt into a vinyl figure. Is I wanted to be able to kind of free up some creative space. As a college student, I'm
Mm-hmm.
always buried under college work, art projects and stuff like that. And I felt that between Ributt, Waffle, and Clove, if I was doing all three as resin figures, um, I felt like it would be kind of a lot, and I wanted to, I guess, with the vinyl, if that was able
That makes
to
sense. Yeah.
be limited to where I was just coming up with the concepts, I could put more focus into creating new stuff. Because I'm just the one person running all of this, the shipping, the store, the all of it, the graphics, and I want to make sure that at the end of the day, I still have enough time for me, but I also have enough time to refuel my creativity.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, honestly, that's also the nice thing about vinyl. If you were to do a vinyl like Clove,
Mhm.
the ears would be less of a problem, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a
absolutely.
resin sculpting kind of issue because we've had that issue with stuff that Christina's done a lot, where like those finer points they're tough to not break
They
or
can just be brittle as
they
hell.
can be very brittle. even if you pack it well, it doesn't matter. Any pressure at all, variance in shipping, I swear it doesn't matter that they'll break, and then you feel terrible, like you said. It's like you don't want that to happen because even though you could fix it, glue or what, nobody wants that.
Yeah, it's not the
It's
same,
not the
having to
same.
reglue it and, knowing that you got it pristine from the artist is a totally different thing.
Yeah, I do like loaves, and you had worm on there as well. I was just flipping through that. So yeah, okay. And I think the vinyl pieces are going to be. I love the orange on it. I think the bundle is going to be a hot sought after item. I think everybody in here is pretty excited. So you already sold at least 30 or so. Damn
I'm really excited. Yeah, no,
it.
regardless of the turnout, like just saying that I have created a vinyl toy. Because a year ago, I remember on numerous occasions saying, nope, I'm just going to do resin. I hardly even know how to do this, so I'm just sticking with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very stubborn in that thought for a while. And it wasn't until March of this year that I just had a sudden change of heart. Things kept ramping up with COVID, and I really had this feeling like most stuff this year was going to be canceled. And I
And it
kind of
was.
wanted to fill that void with something, and pursuing this further instead of originally what I was planning on doing was seeing how this year went and putting it off until next year. I figured with everything happening, why not just do it now? Who knows what's going to happen? It could get worse, it could get better, who knows? But I might as well pull the trigger because I will just be sitting there saying, "What if not?"
So no, I think that's absolutely right. I think there's opportunity in crisis. I've been saying that a lot. Now maybe that's my optimistic look or my hope
Uh,
because everything kind of sucks. And so you want to know what that opportunity in crisis is. So this happens, and if the result is you're like, okay, well, let's take advantage of this time. I am stuck home more. I am doing this more, and the opportunities there. And technology advancements have made it as such where it's very approachable to get into vinyl.
yeah,
Not, not
definitely.
it's not. I mean, it's not cheap. I'm not saying it's throwaway money. It's money, but it's not like it used to be. You don't have to run 1,000 pieces. Jason was on
Yeah,
just the other day, right, where he's like, when he first started talking to factories, he didn't do vinyl for a while because they were saying, "Oh no, you have to do 1,000 pieces," and he wasn't up for that commitment. But then they came back and said, "Oh, actually, we could do 100 pieces." And okay, that's
100. Yeah, I
a
could do
hundred.
ten
I
percent. I
could
could do
do
100.
100.
A
That I could
thousand is
figure out. Yeah,
way more.
yeah, 1,000's ridiculous. And then especially when you're doing something where if you already kind of have that artist, is everybody gonna buy my stuff? Are people gonna love it like I do? Like because that's a scary thing. You're putting your art out there, and it's
Yeah,
a scary thing, but it's also a very rewarding thing. It's like it's scary to put it out there because you don't know how people react. But then when everybody's asking for it and everybody's clamoring for it, and you're selling out, it's a very good thing. It feels really good and nice in the community. Um, it's just that then you got to balance that out when you start doing 50. I think I was talking to Francisco who did small runs
mhm.
on the Berserker Black figure on the Wraith Reaper. And now it's getting to the point where it's selling out so fast. He's trying to figure out how to block bot orders, how to keep it in the group more, because he wants his fans to get it. He's got people that collected from the beginning that aren't able to get it anymore. And so he's trying to figure out that balance of how do you get now, how can you quickly get the more figures, but it's not that easy either. Because
Yeah.
the lead time to change that up, I mean, Tiny Ghost went through that the first year they blew up. I don't know if you remember, they were doing like LE50
I
gold. They did
absolutely.
LE100s, and then people were like, "Oh, there's just not enough of them," and It took a long time to get up to the 400, 500, 600 pieces. It took a whole year cycle.
Yeah, I found them January 2018, and I remember trying for my first three drops. This was pre-Parador, pre-Paradorable membership. Jeez,
Yeah,
can't even say that. And it was just impossible. They were gone almost instantaneously. And I finally got lucky. I think it was after ECCC that year, so after Toxic was released. And I finally got the zombie. I don't remember what that was bundled with. I think it was zombie and robot, but I finally
yeah, it
got
was. Yeah,
lucky then. And I was just jumping for joy because they had
because you
been
finally got one.
running out so quick. Yeah, I was baffled because this thing that I had almost never heard of suddenly, as soon as I heard of it, I tried going for it and just could not get it. I thought that was incredible. And then, just to come and see this like bigger, vast world of underground, designer toys that seemingly existed right beneath my nose this whole time without ever having me stumbled upon it.
Mm-hmm.
That was just the coolest feeling in the world.
Yep.
Because it's just so much more artist controlled and artist managed, and it feels so much less corporate.
Yeah, I agree. And again, we started as Funko collectors years ago,
Mhm.
and that kind of gave us access and kind of visibility to it. It's amazing how many did. You, Connor, well, Reese wasn't a collector, but he designed them all, so that's Funko related.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even count how many of us he's probably inspired.
Oh yeah, and he's been a huge inspiration. I mean, I know Jason, you, Francisco, Connor, uh, many people. It's sort of like if you're a sports metaphor, he's like Bill Walsh or something like that. Where all these other splinter cells are coming off of him based on
Yeah.
being inspired by him. So I think that's been pretty amazing. And I think for us too. I was talking to Dustin from Plastic Empire, and my collecting style has definitely shifted away from the licensed mainstream Funko Pop stuff to being much more excited about getting stuff that friends make and
Mhm.
cool weird stuff I see at a con or a show. And that's probably the part that I miss the most is not being able to go to Designer Con or Five Points or Emerald City or New York or anywhere. Anywhere. I guess I could name them all because none of them happen. But
Yeah.
I would take anything at this point. I would take like South Austin. I would just take any con at this point that we're allowed to have, and it sucks not being able to do that to get exposure to these new things.
Yeah, this was going to be my first year for SDCC, so everything had lined up perfect in December of last year. I had the tickets secured.
Oh, you never been to ECCC?
I've never been to
Oh,
SDCC. No.
SDCC. Sorry, I thought you said E. I'm
Yeah.
like, wait, you live in
Oh
Seattle.
yeah.
How is that
No.
possible?
I live, eat, and sleep. If ECCC is happening, I'm there
I was
pretty
gonna
much
say, like, are you just didn't
non-stop.
want to?
Yeah. No. I love. I was slammed when it didn't happen this year, like a
Yeah.
week and a half before they announced it. I figured it wasn't going to happen, but once it happened, I was like, "Ooh, everything's in trouble. If this is in trouble, I can't imagine what the rest of the year is going to look like for cons."
All right. Yeah. We were up there. Christina and I made the trip up there. This is kind of before we all knew necessarily how bad everything was and where it was going to go. And we had a little bit
Yeah,
of an
yeah.
event, up at the in Everett with Reese and a lot of the tiny ghost collectors. Not huge, but and then luckily nothing happened. Luckily, thank God, and nobody got sick or anything. And then we went home, and then and while we were there in Seattle, I think that's when the world got shut down completely.
It seemed to like that weekend. I remember leaving school that Friday. I asked my teacher, like, "Hey, so what do we do if they shut down school?" She says, "That won't happen. We're not going to do that." And we never went back to school. I still haven't returned to campus since that day. And I wish I could have, just so I could be like you were saying. And it is always for the best. I totally understand why it's happening.
Oh, me
Safety
too.
and everything comes first. But we all miss it. We all just want to get back out there. We want to geek out together. And I think that's the
Exactly.
thing we
I
all
always, I
miss
always
the
kind of
most.
preface it. I'm not saying I don't understand, and I'm not saying I don't mind doing my part. I'm just saying I'm disappointed.
Mhm.
That's all.
Yeah,
Totally right
we're
there.
all valid in that. We've all been cooped up for the better half of 6 months now, and yeah, it totally makes sense.
All right, I'm gonna pick a winner now because we're getting toward the top of the hour here. So
All right,
let's see who got to win that waffle there.
who got it?
You'll see. Schlo.
Oh my God!
Well, you know his address. Go ahead and send it to him.
All right, Eric, I got you. I'll send it your way, buddy. That's amazing. Always love to know when
Well,
they're
I know
delivering
he's
home.
excited to win it, so that's good.
That's
This isn't
fantastic.
rigged, or else Christina would have won. Just so everybody knows. That proves it right there. Like, oh, Christina, weird. Oh, congrats though. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Actually, I can't think of a better person to get it right now. So yeah, you can just contact him. You got his
Oh yeah,
business. You don't need to go
I
through me
got
on
him on that one. It's fantastic.
that. That's awesome. That's fantastic. I love that. Well, hey, look, we got 5 minutes left. First, thanks for taking the time out to do this. You're clearly very busy.
Yeah,
You're relaunching a
absolutely.
brand and a website. You're making a bunch of toys. You have resins that are about to drop. You got the waffles. You're about to go out. You got to ship something to Eric now. I mean, you're busy. I can give you my address too if you want to go ahead and ship me something. I'm just kidding. Um, but we gotta see the preview some pretty cool stuff. But I always like to ask, since you're right at the beginning of it, and
Mhm.
you were a collector that had an interest. It's very different than if you were an artist for a lot. I've talked to a lot of the street artists that kind of drew or comic book artists, whatever. What advice would you give to someone who's a collector right now that loves toys and art? You're going back to school for it, as a matter of
Yeah,
fact. What's that? What would your advice be of getting into making their own toy?
I think the thing that I've recommended to people most is just start somewhere. I think a lot of people sit with the, metaphorically speaking, the blank paper and the pen in their hand, so afraid of what's going to come out of it that they never really lay down the errors that they need to make. The errors are a substantial part of growing as an artist. And some of my worst stuff, whether or not it be stuff that people have ever seen, is stuff that's helped push me to my best stuff.
Right.
And I feel like mistakes are necessary for growth. So get messy, make those mistakes. They're going to happen. So don't stress it that bad and be willing to get back up and keep going forward. Those are probably the most important things if you're starting out on this journey with any or very little knowledge in art. Because, like I said, I used to practice art when I was younger, but it had been 10, 15 years since I'd really
Mm-hmm.
practiced any sort of drawing or anything like that, and it was really just this disdain from having been stuck in retail for so long and the grind of a non-creative sector and being able to get back to what I loved about collecting, which was ultimately that these creations make me happy. And I really just wanted to be able to provide that to anybody else. So I feel like if you're able to achieve that, you're on the right path.
Fantastic. Okay. Yeah, I think that's good advice, and I think that's the thing. As you showed in the beginning of this episode, your transition from your first rendition of your ribbit drawings
Mhm.
to where you ended up, very different.
Yeah, definitely. A
Very
lot
different. A
different.
lot different. I mean, so it just goes to show, just start doing it, refine it.
Yeah.
Now, how much of it is just your refining, or do you rely on the feedback of others? Like, are you working with any other artists? Do you bounce ideas off them? Do you have a kind of collaboration there?
I wish that I was more comfortable with that kind of stuff. I feel like I'm always nervous about putting something out until I just kind of put it out in the void and just let the feedback come to me. There's been numerous times where I've wanted to bounce ideas off of other artists. I collaborate with one 3D sculptor who translates my 2D work
Mm-hmm.
or my hand sculpted work. He's a great guy, and I've got one other person uh, that does my casting. But other than that, it's just all basically like the creativity happens here, and then someone sees it once it's happened. They don't really get any insight to that, or I'm not able to really bounce those ideas off of anybody. My partner's great for that, but they're not very. I don't want to sound um, short, but they're not very artistically inclined.
Mm,
So it's hard to run artistic ideas off of
that's fair.
non-collector, non-artists, because they don't always know what collectors are looking for or are into the same things that collectors are for. So really, I'm really just going with my gut most of the time and hoping for the best. It's really just taking a leap.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I know. I see Jason, yeah, kind of echoing the sentiments. It's a great perspective and advice. Makes sense. I know one of the benefits for him of joining the BIM Toy group is having Reese to bounce things off of now, right? Like they get to do the collaboration, bounce things off, and it goes back and forth, right? Because Reese also likes to have that sounding board, and you have to have
Oh yeah,
that triangle of people. And I constantly hear an echo around kind of the relationships out there of like, yes, you're not going to impact the art. Everybody kind of knows what the art is, and they want to change that. That there's certain sacred aspects to it of what
yeah,
you're trying to create. Like, hey, here's my boundaries. What do you think of this outside of it? I'm only asking you about this slice, okay?
yeah,
This is saying, but I think you all, when you get a working relationship, everybody knows what you're working on. But
yeah.
I think it's been very beneficial. But also on the side of working with, because Connor's a good example of somebody who's not a traditional artist, right? He had an idea. He partnered with an artist, with Ben,
Mhm.
to do the art part of Chomp, and then he partnered with Dustin on the retail. And the three of them kind of, if you see that session we had, you can see they rely very heavily on each other for ideas, or because Dustin's like, hey, I'm not an artist or a toy designer, but I sell them and I know it sells. You know,
And I feel like that is super important to have the insight on the different levels, and I'm
yeah,
so grateful for the collector insight because I feel like that's what definitely tips me in the right direction. Recommendations like, "Hey, we'd like to see this. We want to see that." I'm always listening for that kind of stuff, and that definitely inspires me, gets those little wheels moving. So never be afraid to drop
Yep.
comments below in my posts or anything, and tell me what you'd like to see, just because
Fantastic.
it really helps inspire me.
Well, hey, thanks for joining us again. I know we were supposed to end before. I hate, I'm terrible at ending these conversations. I just have so much fun doing them and
Yeah, no
learning
worries.
about it.
Thanks for having me. This has been an absolute blast, and I don't mind spending the hour at all. I enjoy you guys having me.
Well, I'm looking forward to big things from you. I'm looking forward. I'm going to be trying, so I'll be a collector, and I look forward to the drops. And I wish you all the best luck.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me,
No,
and
thanks.
thank you guys all for tuning in.
All right, and everybody in the chat, we have another session that just started with Nerdy Curious. It looks like they have a guest on, and the title is "What It Means to Fandom with Shannon Fox." I don't know who Shannon Fox is, but maybe I'll go learn as well. Anyway, we have a lot of different content. Go check them out. I'm going to send a raid over there now in 9 seconds or so. And congrats again, Eric. Good win.